Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. It's an amazing room. My name is Mo, and I head community and education at Ledger. And I'm super thrilled to be here today with such inspiring panelists to discuss a topic that I'm deeply passionate about, the metaverse. And the metaverse is actually not a novel concept. It was born with the internet, got accelerated with the rise of social media and online gaming, and finally became self-evident with the adoption of digital assets. But there is more than one vision with regards to what the metaverse actually is, how it should be developed and governed. And I don't think there will be a single winning vision. I think there will be multiple ones. And today we'll explore some of these visions through the eyes of Web3 gaming and luxury experts. So please join me in welcoming Sebastien Badault, VP Metaverse at Ledger. We have Rahim Attaba, VP Marketing at the Sandbox, Kai Henry, CSO Faze Clan, and Nelly Mensah, VP Web3 at Lvmh. So, as we were saying, there's more than one vision when it comes to what the metaverse actually is. So maybe you can start introducing yourself and tell us, what does the metaverse mean to you? Nelly, you can start.
Happy to start. Great to be here. So my name is Nelly. I am head of Web3 and Metaverse at Lvmh. So I help all of our brands, and there's about 75 of them, basically figure out the same question. So what is the metaverse? And I think everyone has this idea of the open metaverse. You're fully immersed. You have your headset on. And I think for our brands, in order to actually not get paralyzed by the fear of that future, I like to think of it as a more kind of practical definition. And so for us, the metaverse is basically an extension of the experiences that our brands offer our clients across various touch points. And so our brands are looking at, gaming metaverses, but also microverses, right? So private metaverses that actually exist on our very own platforms, right? We basically can imagine a future where all of the internet is decentralized, tokenized, in 3D. And so yes, that can mean a gaming platform where you're fully immersed in VR, but it could also mean 3D immersive shopping on your own website, or even really compelling augmented reality experiences in our stores and fashion shows that really help you engage with the brand, engage with the product, convert, etc. So I'm offering a little bit more practical definition today for a change.
Amazing. Thank you.
That was dope. Yeah, I'm Kai Henry. It's good to be here. Thank you. Chief Strategy Officer at Faze Clan. Faze Clan is one of the biggest esports and gaming organizations in the world. Yeah, and so I think what metaverse means to me. Like metaverse is just super exciting. You know what I mean? It's like everyone here, we're all building one giant fucking video game, excuse me. You know what I mean? It's all gamification. There's many ways, and shapes and forms in which you can experience the metaverse. I'm super stoked on really 2.1 to 2.9 version, of the web, which I think is more AR, right? Experiential, experiencing products in that way, experiencing gamification in that way. When it comes to gamers, content creators, we use our phones and we, in these different platforms, whether it's Snap, YouTube, Twitch, And so I think that'll continue as we're building the metaverse together, and then we eventually land in places like Sandbox, which is fully immersive. But yeah, I just think there's so many iterations of the metaverse, and gaming and gamers, I think, are really well positioned to help forge what the future looks like there.
Hello, my name is Rahim. I'm the VP of Marketing for the Sandbox. I've been in the company for 3 months now, 3 or 4 months, so I'm fairly new to Web3. I come from 20 years of gaming, where we offer players an opportunity to interact and build communities and engage with gaming companies. What I think is interesting with the Metaverse is we're going to offer a tool and a platform for brands, for creators to not just to be gaming, but to a platform at the crossroad of lifestyle, fashion, music, and everything, which is actually going to build a more immersive experience for the players and the creators, but also increase the engagement. So it is very interesting from our perspective to build something that is going to fit the narrative for luxury brands like you, like gaming. Faze is actually such a big name, and we're happy to start doing some stuff with you guys at some point. But yeah, and then also make some tech company like Ledger super cool, because we have some super cool initiatives. So safety is also very important for us. So, and values. You're going to hear a lot about values from us.
Cool. So I'm Sebastien. I'm VP Metaverse for Ledger. One of the coolest titles that you can have, found by our CEO. So for me, I think that the way that I look at it is really about a technology revolution. And I think that we're only at the beginning of what the metaverse is going to be. So it's kind of like the buzzword. It's the word that's probably the most typed or that has the most hype in the past few months. But I don't think it's quite there yet. But I think it will come, and it will come from that technology revolution. And I think part of it will be, so I subscribe to what Nelly said about this idea that I don't think that'll be something that be fully immersive, wearing headsets and everything. I think it'll be a mix between, having maybe no screen anymore and being able to actually show things. This is part of the technology, and this idea that a technology revolution has to be like magic. I haven't seen anything right now that looks like magic, but I think we will at some point. And then the other really big part is the decentralization aspect, and the fact that it has to be a bunch of different worlds that are interconnected together. And that's where we feel we have a big role to play, because I think that the revolution of Web3, and which is linked to down the line the revolution of the metaverse, is going to be about us having access to all these different digital assets, whatever they may be. Could be digital twins of products that we've bought at Lvmh. It could be swords that we have in certain games and so forth and so on. And to be able to take them from one world to another. And I think that as we have more and more of these collectibles, those are going to start defining who we are. And so you're going to want to be able to take who you are, your digital self, from one place to another is amazing. And that doesn't exist. Also, with you having the power of taking it or taking a part of it and sharing it with whoever you want to, instead of having a third party doing it for you. And then obviously you want to keep that secure, because if it's you, that's the most important thing that you have to yourself is your own identity. So you want to be able to self custody your own identity, and that's why we are really interested in that space and looking at what we can do there.
Yeah, that's a very, I would say, interesting point. This whole concept of digital identity, and Kai, that actually emanated from the word of gaming. The concept of digital ownership. That's the reason why Ethereum exists. And I think that if someone truly understands the value of a digital identity, it's the gamer. And today, thanks to NFTs, gamers, they can own that identity, they can monetize it. But at the same time, within that gaming sphere, there's some sort of, I would say, counter movement that doesn't truly get that value proposition. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you think the gaming world will be evolving in parallel with the emergence of all of these digital assets?
Yeah, I think that, as far as your digital self, yeah, you go into any video game, you go into, say, Call of Duty or Fortnite, right? And gamers are choosing different skins, or choosing different identities in that way. I think, as we move forward, Web 2, as far as like your digital self in a Web 2 version, is always like, you're presenting yourself almost in the best version of yourself possible on Instagram. It's like if it's not the hottest, if it's not the best thing, then don't post it, right? Like that's the rule, right? And so I think that like now this is just an extension of that, right? So as you get into the metaverse and you're able to create new versions, I think, of yourself, you're also able to tap into different creative parts of your brain, right? Like you're able to express yourself in a different way than you would just physically. And so I think that's really interesting, especially for creators, content creators, people that want to create new brands and IP, and the gamification of those things. So when it comes to, gaming and gaming culture, gaming's like the glue between 1,000 cultures, right? And so I like all the lifestyles we represent, everyone here, like I think that there's, gaming has a strong tether to many things, fashion, sports, right? Like a lot of the talent we have range from different lifestyles, and I'm 40, which is devastating, but
You don't look 40.
Depends who you talk to.
Yeah, I represent like first gen gamers, and I think that we, every time we say gamer, we think kids, and I don't think that's true. I think that the gaming ecosystem is broader than that. But NFTs, buying digital goods, creating digital goods. NFTs are a bad word in the gaming community right now. I think it comes from a lot. What's that?
Why is that?
Well, because gaming again encompasses a lot, right? But when you talk about influencer culture, there's just been a lot of just shitty projects out there the last couple of years. A lot of rug pulls, a lot of just like just bad product out there, right? And people not understanding how they're affecting their communities when they're doing certain things, but also not handing out any passes. A lot of those deals that from some of that stuff come in form of like traditional brand deals, right? It's like, yo, okay, you're gonna give me 100K, I'm gonna post this, and then as a creator, it looks the same as other things. And a year and a half ago, it was rampant, and so I think now the gaming community is just like, you know what? Until someone does this the right way, we don't mess with it, right? And so I actually think for Faze Clan, it's a huge opportunity for us to, align ourselves with best-in-class partners and make sure that we're keeping our community in mind and usher a whole generation of gamers into the metaverse and into Web3 in a way that I don't think a lot of companies can. So yeah.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Go ahead, Rahim.
Can you just?
Of course.
I can talk
This
for
is your
days
area.
about that, dude. I
We were in the
can
back.
just, like,
We were in the back.
No, seriously, yeah, we're talking about that. A couple of things. Education. So people think about NFT as expensive JPEG with no utilities, so that's why they don't like it. I think when it's going to be the time to educate the players, the gamers in general, that is actually true ownership, they will realize that the years they've been spending money on virtual items in some very specific game, they will say like, dude, this is my own stuff. I want to sell it. No, you cannot do it because at some point we're going to stop the service and you're going to lose everything. I did that for 20 years, I can tell you. And there is another one in the room that did the same for me. So I can tell you that's not a good business. The other thing is, I think it's a threat to the business, to traditional gaming companies. I'm not saying it's bad. What I'm saying is they've been building wealth and then very powerful gaming companies over time on the idea as, buy virtual items and then you can use them and then play them and everything, but at some point, it doesn't belong to you. So what I think is, if you come up with the project and some big names try to do something, fail because lack of education, lack of a real project behind that, and I think at some point Web3 is going to stay because that's going to be, that's at least the future. So when big names in the gaming industry will really step up and provide a solid project with real utilities and ownership and then marketplace to be able to offer players the opportunity to do what they want to do with their virtual items, that's going to change.
I agree.
Not
the UX is important. Like the easier it is to own assets and migrate them game to game and actually have ownership of it, the better. Right now, the only way to really feel good and have quick transaction and like you just like you're like, okay, cool, I bought the Snoop Dogg skin in Call of Duty, like, and it's one click, not 10 clicks, right? So I think that also plays into it.
Yeah, and that's why Metaverse is actually a real opportunity for the players, open metaverse, to be able to go from a metaverse to another one with your avatar, with your content, as long as we do the right thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think, yeah, that's exactly why it's interesting to fashion, right? Because if you think about LVMH brands, it's almost all about kind of self-expression, creativity, affinity, and being able to flex, right, your choices and what you want to do. And so, of course, as you are now encountering a generation that is so used to also being present in the digital space, like why wouldn't you want to allow them to express themselves in those environments as well? I think our hope is that if someone is introduced to a brand in the metaverse, in the digital realm, it's a way for them to experiment, right? To get excited about the brand, and then eventually say, you know what, like that lipstick looked really good in that particular game. Let me actually try it in real life. So we see kind of digital and metaverse to be an extension of like your physical self, and for people to be able to express themselves freely and express who they are in both worlds.
absolutely.
I mean, I'm thinking that what's going to bring a lot of people into the space are creators, whatever type of creation they're doing. But clearly, and I totally echo what you just said, that it'll only work if you provide ease of use, because if it's complicated, then people are not going to come. And then security, obviously, the second one. And that we've been talking about it all morning, but I think it echoes in all the conversations that we have. Those are the two things that we need to build a real ecosystem. And that's because I think creators as a whole will want to go into the space because it's new, number one, and they're often attracted by new, and also because of the way that the economics work, which are fairer to creators. But for users, you need great UX, and then you're going to need great gameplay, and then and I think gaming is definitely going to lead the way there, and then we'll see what happens. And we just had a panel on music and all the other industries.
Yeah, absolutely. I think core value proposition is going to come to life in the gaming realm. And Nelly, let me come back to you because to your earlier point about NFTs having a lot of things in common with the luxury world, it's probably not surprising to see LVMH leading the Web3 revolution within the luxury space. But what I would say is impressive is the cultural relevance and the creativity through which brands like Bulgari, Tiffany, and Tag Heuer that we just saw today enter the space. So where do you see this going from a business model standpoint?
So I think it's really exciting for our brands to think about it. I like to think about it as, if you think of the consumer journey, right? You have an opportunity to disrupt every single touch point when it comes to like Web3, right? So awareness of a brand. You will discover new brands, new creators in the metaverse. When it comes to conversion, right? We talked about augmented reality in a store or really good 3D content on your website. Look, it's not gaming, it's not fancy, it's not sexy, but the reality of it is if you want to, reduce returns, right, for clothing items, the better your customer gets an idea of what the item is, the more likely they are to want it, to buy it, and not to be disappointed when it arrives, right? So even purchase. Then even after sales, right? So if you want to grow loyalty after someone has bought something from your brand, you can meet them in the metaverse. If someone has a question, well, how do I wear this lipstick? How do I style this bag? Like, where can I get my remover repaired? I don't know. There's so many ways that you engage with a brand afterwards. That is also another opportunity for us to do that in the metaverse as well. And then, of course, fashion shows, virtual stores, right? It's just a way, I think, for brands to really reach their clients in new places where they are and really push creativity. And for luxury brands especially, they're so used to designing beautiful moments and really getting emotion out of their clients. They're able to do it in their physical stores when they're designing fashion shows. It's very easy to take those skills and transfer them into the metaverse as well. So when we're saying we need good UX, we also need really good design, right? Really good copywriting. So if you have friends who are good writers, good marketers, just get everybody into Web3 because we need everyone.
Absolutely. And when we're talking about digital assets and we're talking about digital identities, these can only come to life in digital worlds.
And we're here.
And when you think about what the Sandbox is, it's a digital world in which all of this can exist. And it is the Web3 social media. When you compare it to social media, they're all built on, gaming, e-commerce, social, communication pillars. And when you see Facebook rebranding to Meta, launching avatars, coming into this space, your space, how do you see that confrontation between the Web 2 metaverse and the Web 3 metaverse.
I saw a good post from your CEO on this.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, so I'm not going to comment on Sebastian's post on LinkedIn. I'll let you go and check. It's funny because it's something we also discussed back in March in Paris. So first, it's not our space, it's the space of everyone. So if everyone wants to come to Metaverse and then try and innovate and learn, I think it's going to be for the good of everyone, and I think for the ecosystem. I think if I want to take on understand on something is values, and again we talked about that last time. Is you cannot engage with players and gaming and communities at large if you don't have strong values. If you look at Faceland, they have values with the community. You don't screw up with the communities, right? You know what you do, you know what you want to do with them. Luxury brand, the same, quality, engagement, so you know what you want. And tech, with you guys, safety, you want to make sure that you offer the most secure tool to your clients. So for us, the Metaverse is making sure that the way we bring communities together with the brands, with, content like lifestyle, music, it has to be, with true values like security, safety, ownership, making sure that we're very transparent with what is happening on the blockchain. So all on one. So we want to make sure that we drive open metaverse also, which is going to enable players and community to go from a metaverse to another one, which is super important for us because we know that brands, they don't want to stick to one metaverse. They want to go with everyone, which is very important because we see communities going from one to another one and experience content where they want. So I think it's very important for us. I'm going to take like the other, like your example of the headset, and then again, it's a Ready Player One Hollywood movie stuff. That is going to be like that. I think it's going to be more friendly and more accessible. Not just like I need to have a headset, I need to have a full setup and everything. Something more interesting, I think, in the future. So.
But there is also the challenge of building in the decentralized world versus building in the centralized world, and the efficiency. We're talking about, interoperability. Everyone's talking about interoperability, but talking about it and then seeing it come to life, I know you guys are working really hard to make sure that you're integrating other components.
We do,
that
yeah,
world.
today, yeah.
But how do you see like that interoperability coming to life, like in the future? Does it come with connecting digital worlds, or first connecting avatars, digital assets? How do you see that like kind of evolution?
Avatar is actually the first thing that is easy to do. I mean, easy. It's the first step for us for interoperability, and I think it's going to get bigger as we actually build the ecosystem together, because it's still very niche today, because we hear a lot of mainstream media going with metaverse. So we said like there is some mainstream attention, but we don't have the mainstream adoption today. It's still very difficult for, you have to have your MetaMask account, you need to understand crypto and everything and blockchain and why you need to do that. And I was talking about education. So as long as all together we can do that and then explain what is the difference between decentralized and centralized. There are things you still need to get from Web 2 because it's still working today, and it's still like the value and the wealth is actually in Web 2 today. So transitioning everyone to Web 3 is going to be interesting. So and decentralized, because it is very important for us to get the community to make with the DAO like very strong decision for the future of Sandbox or the others, and understand them how we want to. What is going to be the direction? And that's going to be after like Web3 is going to stay. So that's the future.
Yeah,
I think what you need is protocols, right? At one point or another, and I think the big builders need to get together, and I think it's happening in a lot of spaces. There was actually talking about Epic, which at the heart of it is fully centralized, but they're really thinking about decentralization and moving into that space. And I think that their CEO, Tim Sweeney, is really a very, very smart man and really a visionary onto that space, and he understands that yes, Fortnite is closed, but Epic and like Unreal is not. Unreal Engine is like open. So I think that it's about finding the protocols, right? Like the Web 1 was really decentralized in the sense that if I have a Yahoo email address, I can send an email to a Gmail address, right? That's fully decentralized. That's great. right? So now how do we build that into Web3? But what I find very interesting is that it really feels, and that's true in the gaming. I mean, I don't know if it's so true in the gaming space, but you can talk about it much better than I can. But I feel in the communities that are here that there is that desire to, partner and find ways to work together. All the conversations that we have is about, hey, we're like building something together. Right. So yes, we can compete, and that's okay on certain things, but we can also work together on others.
Yeah, Web3 is a non-zero sum game.
There you go.
That's the thing.
I think so. It's very interesting what you're saying. Like, they want this, but they don't know they want it. Like, you see what I mean? Like, as long as you can show them the values, they're gonna say, "Oh, that makes sense. Why we haven't done that before?" And then they're gonna, make that journey to Web3. But it's a long road.
And just I wanted to add on the values because I think I fully agree with that, and the idea that the blockchain is transparent, and so the value of transparency, which is one of the key values of Ledger, security obviously, but transparency as well, is really, really important. And I think that when you're building something, if you don't have the right values at the beginning, then you're building on sand, right? So you want to build on rock, and the rock is going to be these values. So I fully echo what Rahim was saying.
Yeah, 100%. I want to go back to something that we were talking about as the challenges of building in the decentralized world. And I think one of the main challenges, Seb, is security. And the more we invest in the metaverse, the more this value will start attracting hackers and scammers, and the more we're going to have a lot of the friction that will either put off gamers or other brands from participating in that space. So when you think about the long-term perspective, how are you planning on securing the metaverse?
So I mean, I think we talked about this morning about how Ledger secures about 20% of the world's crypto, right? Which is a very high number. And then when we look at NFTs, right, it jumps up to a much, much higher number. It was about like 37 or 40%. I gave the stat this morning that in May, out of 100 transactions, it was more than 100 on Bored Apes, 50 were done with ledgers. 50% of all transactions for Bored Ape were done with ledgers. And the way that we explain that is to say, well, there's a social, attachment or emotional and social attachment to your NFTs, which doesn't exist, or less so with money, right? If you get $10,000 stolen for you, you're upset, but you don't have an emotional attachment to money. And I think that as we move into more and more Web3 and this idea of digital self, well, that's the thing you want to protect the most. I mean, look, you're wearing your ledger around your neck, it's like on your heart, you see, like it's like close to your heart. But so I think that's where we're really thinking, like how can we build, and it's complex, and it's not just going to be us, right? Because at the end of the day, it's easy to have a wallet that has a few different lines of crypto. Once you start adding your NFTs, and this better than anyone, hey, how do you like manage your whole collection and everything?
Sure, identity, it's you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
True. And then now, like if every time you buy something, you have a digital twin. Every time you go to a conference, look, you're here. You could have 4 POAPs from being here just today. I mean, you're gonna end up having like hundreds, if not thousands, of these POAPs, like digital twins and so forth and so on. So we're gonna need like a space that allows you to like pull out what you need when you want it, and that doesn't exist today. But I think, and that's why I think the idea of having a platform that people can build on top of and build these tools to make it, again, back to the idea of ease of use, and then security through hardware or cold storage hardware wallets.
Yeah, I don't know what Seb is talking about. I have a very emotional attachment to money.
I was going to jump in. I was like, what?
Yes, we do. I think security is such an interesting topic, and maybe like a controversial opinion, but I think us in this Web3 space, we tend to be so opinionated of like not your keys, not your crypto, right? Just feeling really passionate about the ideology of what this was built on. But I would say that most people just don't, right? I think the reason why we have like centralized services is because people actually do want to often delegate, right? They either want convenience, ease of use, they might be too busy, they might not have the capacity, capability, right? The resources to self-custody everything. And so I think we're going to start seeing the ecosystem evolve with partners like Ledger, where there is actually trusted partnerships, but they're built on the foundation of Web3, right? It's not going to be be like every single individual fully securing all their assets, every single brand, right, having all of their stuff self-custody. I think it's going to be a mix, but I think it's really important to think about the fact that, some people actually like don't really care, right? They would just much rather delegate it to somebody else, and you have to, design for those people as well.
Absolutely. So they were very strict with me on time, and I really want to provide people the opportunity to ask questions. But before we do that, I'd actually want to end with a question that is in the title here. What does the future hold for us? So Kai, from your area's perspective, what does the future hold for us?
That's a big question. I think that the future is bright. It's all of us building this thing called the Metaverse together collectively, and really leaning into community, right? Like if you think about I always go back to the music business. Kind of have my roots in the music business, but like when Napster came out and there was this like peer-to-peer interaction, you're able to share files with people. Like I don't know how old I was. I won't go back into my age, but I was consumed by that thought that I could just go on and get free shit. You know what I mean? Like I was at my computer for days. Like it was crazy. And then, I got in the music business, and the crazy shit was that didn't change. I'm like in these meetings and I'm like, damn, I'm 25. Everybody's in here pissed off that there's these kids pirating music, and like I haven't paid for music in fucking 5 years. You know what I mean? And so now I think that this is just like the natural progression to that, and us really understanding that once you have these tools as a community, as like a global community, you can fucking make anything, right? And so now when it comes to big business, when it comes to Lvmh, Faze, Ledger, like our jobs up here, Sandbox, our jobs are to empower creators and community, right? Invest in underrepresented areas so that we can build this together, so that like 10 years from now, we're not way the fuck over there and having the same issues that we have now, as far as, not representing a global community. And the more we do that, the better this will all be, right? And reimagining what business looks like fundamentally, at the core, and reimagining what our brands are going to look like in this space, right? There's so much to do, and a lot of it's tapping into youth culture. Like a lot of it's tapping into quote unquote kids, and taking that knowledge, that innate knowledge of the internet, elevating it wherever you're at, and honoring it on high like you do a CFO or a president or whatever, and really listening to that so that you can build properly and you're not,
Yeah, I think there's three things, right? I think for creators, first of all, who can be a creator is going to change, right? So we're going to start seeing, similar to how like YouTube influencers emerged and TikTok influencers emerged, we're going to start seeing lots of new ways that people start actually just generating value from their creativity. So that's very exciting. I think for brands, the future holds a lot of discomfort, because they're going to have to start figuring out how to navigate a world where they are sharing value with their creators, because that's what the world will demand. And they're going to start figuring out how to navigate that internally. So like, IT is not sleeping, legal's not sleeping, right? Like IP protection lawyers are not sleeping. They're all trying to figure out how to transition into this new world. And then for consumers, I think it's going to be a lot about education and choice, right? Because now you actually have transparency. So you get to select what creators you buy from. You get to select what brands you purchase from. So for example, like Lvmh is putting a lot of stuff on the Aura blockchain for transparency, right? So people are demanding a lot more transparency, accountability. And so I think consumers just have a lot of choices to make and to educate themselves about this world.
It's such an interesting point that you just made about the creator economy evolving with the metaverse, because if you think about it, Instagram made everyone a photographer. I think the metaverse is going to make everyone an architect or fashion designer, or all of these different new things.
Everybody's kids are playing Roblox, so they're going to be in Sandbox.
Exactly.
They're developing, they're making, they're building now. And
actually, one more point too, which is I think a lot more people are also going to become like financiers and bankers, right? So the same way that people really got to know how to use digital, photographers, publishers, right? I think now that you have the blockchain underlying a lot of your product, and you have like the financialization of NFTs and everything, I think kind of like finance is coming to retail. We started seeing it already with like Robinhood, as a lot more younger retail investors are participating. And I think more and more people are going to start really figuring out how to manage their money, how to make their money, and how to manage their assets, because everything is tokenized.
100%. Rahim?
the other thing I can add is new creators coming to the platform is actually going to enable creators to monetize better than on other, streaming platforms. So if I want to create NFTs and I want to sell them, Metaverse and the Sandbox will enable them. So I think it's very important. But I have one message because I think Web3 is going to stay. I think it's going to change. We're going to have a lot of people switching from Web2 to Web3 very quickly. I have a message for everyone here. Is when you're going to back home and then you're going to talk about NFT and YC and everything, you're going to talk about like the Sandbox parties. They were very cool. They was like, that was crazy. But talk about like shaping up a new future. That is very important. Like it's tough today. I mean, been months, which is in the crypto world, and it's not easy for everyone, but like that's the future we're gonna have, and then sharing like, oh, we have cool stories, we have people that really, very smart and engaged to make a better world. Like you were talking about diversity. Look at the panel,
Oh no, I love this.
You see what I mean?
I feel bad.
No, I mean it's important. Like
I play the old guy. I'm the old guy.
Dude, why did you say you're old? I'm 47. I look like 20. I know, but no,
You're not 47.
I'm 47.
Oh, wow.
No, seriously, I know. What do you think?
Will you tell us like about like the creams you use and everything?
Well,
Anyway,
I think it's important though. Like
this is another panel.
I think
later.
it's
Subscribe to his YouTube channel.
Yeah, his YouTube channel.
I think it's
There you go.
important though to help.
He's a creator.
We're going from user-generated content to user-owned content.
Yes.
Right. And so like we, for Faze Clan and the game theory that we have as gamers and creators on that level, I think that we're really gonna like for instance for Sandbox, right? Having gamers work with other brands to create scenarios that we actually show other companies and businesses how to tap in and hire from their communities so that they can create the right things, like I think that's really, really, really big. Like we hire from our community, right? Like and they really help guide us and take us in the right places. But I'm really big on user-owned content right now.
I agree. I think my last words would be that everything is going to get tokenized, that culture is going to become an asset class, or already is an asset class. And I love what you said about, the new generation have kids, and they're all creators, and we don't know, like, because they're 13 years old and they're building stuff on Minecraft, on Roblox, whatever, and God knows with increased tools what they're going to be able to do. So I think we're in for a lot of surprises, and we have to empower also this generation, and they're going to think about work, they're going to think about creation in a different way that we can even like fathom. We just have to help them out, like build it, but it's going to be pretty amazing to see.
Amazing. We're out of time, but we can take one or two questions. Wow. Let's go. First one, white hand. I can't see the person, but please.
Yeah. Yeah, shout. You get.
The question was generating constant revenue streams in the metaverse. I think the biggest challenge right now, and we have to be really realistic about this, is for most of our brands outside of watches and wine and spirits, the fashion brands and beauty brands, the consumer is primarily female. And for Web3 right now, that is not the audience. Like, yes, we have like female like esports gaming leagues, etc., but the consumer is still female. So until you get people of color who are buying Fenty, like fashionistas, really savvy on this space, you're not going to get a constant revenue stream. And I think it's one of the reasons why I don't shit on Meta is because that's where a lot of the consumers are. And if people get to know what an NFT is via Instagram, that's awesome.
Makes sense. Please.
That was the last panel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think the last panel they had was about the music industry. But I mean, I think that clearly going back to the creator situation, this stats is always mind-boggling to me. The fact that out of the $4 billion that Spotify gives to record companies every year, 84% is kept by the record companies and 16% is given to the artists. Right. I also love this stat, which is that Apple takes 30% in the App Store, and this U.S. senator said that when the biggest company in the world has a higher take rate than the mafia, we have a problem as a society, right? So 84% on the one end, 30% on the other. So I think that this isn't a Ledger-specific issue, but like finding a way to give back to creators the way that what they're actually owed. Is really what it's all about. And I think that at the end of the day, if you're able to do that, that means you have to be able to transact in a secure way. So that's what we can help with, like the off-ramp and with clear signing, etc. I think that's what we want to work towards. But I think what we need is just a fair way to make sure that creators get paid the way they should be gotten paid.
Yeah, it's all about self-sovereignty, and I guess this is where we're going to leave it today. Thank you so much
that's a nice conclusion.
for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sahid Dad.
Hi, my name is Katie Rago.
Danny Laviaga.
Johnny.
Danielle.
My name is Matthew Soares. I've been a Ledger user for probably about 8 months now.
I've been a Ledger user for about 8 months now.
2 months now.
3 months.
About a year and a half.
The last 2 months.
Since today.
I am in the Web3 for learning.
I'm honestly Web3 for the community, and I'm really trying to learn a lot more.